Hi, Vicky.
Natalie, hello, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm good. It's been a
Thank-
while, my
I
friend, since
know.
we
And
last worked
thank you
together.
so much for agreeing to do this. Um,
Pleasure.
I knew I wanted to do something on International Women's Day, and you were on my hit list. I thought you were definitely someone I wanted to interview and made quite an impression. I'm just trying to think how many years ago, maybe 20
I
years.
know, I was going to whisper it. Because I can only do that through Mimi's age. I think it was 20 odd years ago.
20
Yeah,
plus
but
years ago.
the best agency time of our life, right? That was
It
my
it
highlight of my
was.
agency career then.
Yeah, that's exactly how I describe it to
Really?
yeah, to people, and absolutely loved working with you. You were one of my first bosses at the time, and yeah, we I think we had, it's fair to say, we had wonderful times. Yeah,
It
back
was.
in Tequila,
Back
in
in
Soho, in London, in yeah, the good old days. So I yeah,
it.
love just to have a chat really about your career.
No, pleasure. I
So
know. I have fond memories as well. Nah, it's great. I mean, like you say, 20 years ago, and actually what's the best thing about life now and even doing this call is just reconnecting with people from the past. Isn't it
yeah,
lovely? And the
yeah,
time just goes, you have such solid connections with great people you get to work with in your career, and they become friends, and even if you don't speak to each other, you're quiet supporters on
yeah.
LinkedIn and things like that. You just want the best for them, right? I mean, and that's our relationship. I've always admired what you've been doing as well from afar, even though we've never really chatted in a while. It's
Involvement.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's a nice way to sum it up. Quiet supporter. I think
yeah,
that's definitely
exactly. Cheering on from the sidelines
so,
digitally.
so
So,
think back to your childhood days. What did you dream of doing?
oh, I mean, if we go real childhood, it would be something really frivolous and silly, but actually connected as well, of like working in WH Smith's. I've always been very organized, so wanting to sort of do shelf displays and interested in retail randomly.
Really?
So yeah, I mean, that was always like, organizing the magazines on the shelf. But more of like uni days and things. I think sadly, but focusedly, I've always wanted to work in advertising.
Yeah.
So I can remember studying law, but always wanting to get into advertising. That is what I wanted to do back then. And, luckily I've had a career in it. So that's what I've always wanted.
Oh, that so I know you started off in sort of traditional brand management roles, so working client side, and then went to agency side. Did you
Yeah.
find it quite hard to make that transition? Obviously, the culture is very, very different as well.
Yeah, I think I've been lucky in my career that I've had that almost 50-50 blend of both. I think of myself as an agency girl, but I've had almost equal time client side. And especially now, latterly, being in Edinburgh, financial services, you really can't service a big corporate unless you really understand what it's like to be in marketing in a
Yeah,
big corporate. So it becomes a real secret sauce, I think, of our sort of success and like enjoyment of a job as well. I've genuinely been both sides of the
yeah,
fence, so
yeah.
I can make the both work together, and enjoy both sides as well. But now agency, now agency, back in agency.
And
So
if I was to ask you a difficult question to answer, what is the one thing that you're most proud of during your career? What would it be?
God, the one thing.
I will let you have two if that makes it easy.
No, I won't be greedy. I guess, I mean, I suppose you never want to big yourself up, right? But I guess you must have done something right to A, have just got on with people, made it happen, loved what you've done, tried to make it. I mean, it's stressful sometimes, right? Especially agency side. But testament to this conversation, just great connections from the past and the present, and trying to just be people focused and
Yeah,
loving what you do, but not taking it too seriously, trying to get the sort of the fun, the kindness, and the kind of humanness all around it as well. But just delivering great work too. I mean, that is massively important. So that's a rambling answer, but just hopefully just doing it in a kind of decent way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what skills do you believe you need to be a great leader?
Um, I mean, I think it's sort of, can you learn it or is it natural? I guess it's both. I always feel very unlearned, as in I don't know what the textbook is. I've been thrown into situations in my career where you've just literally learnt on the job, imposter syndrome, obviously huge every day in doing that, but you kind of get the energy back. So you just have to be your authentic self. I know that sounds really basic, but you can't really be anything else. So, but then that starts unlocking a culture and a connection and a kindness and a drive and an
Yeah.
impatience as well. It's that balancing of wanting great things, but that seems to come across, so I think that's been my leadership style, which seems to have served me
Yeah.
well, mostly. So yeah, it's less technique, it's more intuition.
Yes. And how do you encourage women not to give up?
It's such a loaded question, isn't it? Because like, why should we even be considering giving up? Being mums, being at whatever age you are in your career. I mean, I just have zero tolerance of the giving up concept. So I suppose I I would only encourage women by not even having that as a thing. It's just not even a
Yeah.
consideration. I mean, like, yeah, I almost can't tolerate talking about it. It's less like every decade you're a decade better and in your prime, right?
I like that. You're a decade.
But
Yeah.
you are, and like, it's amazing being a mum. It's equally incredible not being a mum, but you juggle, you do it, and there's
Yeah.
nothing better than giving something to a busy person, right? Because they make it happen. So that is a characteristic of being a mum,
Yeah.
that you're the best at juggling because you have to. But equally, people are caring for elderly parents and things like that. We are that sandwich generation, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like, women do tend to be the drivers in most relationships, and no disrespect to our lovely male counterparts, but that's just kind of in our nature. So yeah,
So how do you
it's
balance
enough.
everything?
How
How do
do
you
I
balance it?
balance?
Personal life, family, your work? How do you do it all?
Yeah, well, I'm probably guilty of being slightly unbalanced in the point of view of I love work. So I don't feel the need to balance it quite as much because I genuinely love what I'm doing. So for me, and especially being, an agency, co-founder, startup, there's not enough hours in the day, but nobody's got a gun to my head to work like that. I
Yeah.
choose, I want
Yeah.
to, I get energy from it. So, you know, I don't feel the need for balance, but I'm very aware of the need for balance. So for the team and our culture, and for all the other priorities you've got in life, and I do need to learn from that sometimes as well myself. So for example, we've got 9-day fortnight as our small startup agency culture. And, on paper, it probably makes no commercial sense to do that. But from a well-being, a work really hard and love what you do, but just take that Friday and have some time
Yeah.
with your family, your kids or your friends, long weekend, that is balance. So I less need to ask permission to do that as the business owner, but
Yeah.
equally, I can do it on my own terms, right? The balance is having the choice and the freedom to make the choices, and I suppose I'm privileged to have that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. How do you measure success?
oh, I thought this was meant to be like a casual, like, so success in what? In life? It's success in,
From a work perspective, well, but both,
yeah,
actually both.
success
Mm.
in, well, let's put it in the context of, well, it is life and work become very interlinked, don't they? So success is, I mean, it sounds really cliched, right? But you've won the jackpot if you love what you do. There's lots of people, unfortunately, doing jobs they hate, but they can't get out of them, for many, many practical reasons. So success is loving what you do. And the reason you do love what you do is because you're in the right culture. and you're getting something back. I think there's nothing worse. So it's almost easier to answer the question, the opposite of success, which is the warning sign, and the life is too short to ever do this to yourself. I know from experience is to be in a culture where you're not getting something back. So you're giving everything, but the value is not coming back to fuel you. Success is the opposite, where it's a two-way thing. You know, you want to give your all, but equally you want it to come back and like be appreciated and to thrive from that energy. So yeah, that's success, being in that place.
And how have you built confidence and resilience over the years?
Two different things, right? So confidence, I'm probably really good at faking it. You know, I'm getting better, but I am quite introvert. The thought of networking and small talk and, oh my God, I'd rather do anything but, although I am getting slightly better at almost having a different persona. You know, it's like, it's not networking, it's socializing. You're just going out to meet friends. You know, you have to play all these mind tricks. So I think there is a bit of putting a brave face on and just doing it, equally being authentic, right? And if like, just bring yourself. So if you're not feeling it, then you just be who you are that day and don't try and pretend to be anyone else. So that was the confidence bit. What was the other bit? Resilience. Yeah, that's tough. That's what gets you. It gets you. If you really care, it really matters to you. So resilience becomes quite a loaded concept. I think that you need resilience. Of course, you need a slightly thicker skin. You know, we deal with quite challenging client situations, you know, sometimes in our agency careers. And there is a level where that is acceptable and you just need to get on with it, right? And deliver. But you have to always, always, always like really value your own values. Because if you don't value your own values, who's going to value them? And that is the thing. Resilience, if it's starting to compromise your own values, you should not be putting up with it and getting on with it. You need to look after yourself. You need to get out. So resilience won't protect you in that situation. You shouldn't be wanting to protect yourself. You should be looking after yourself and doing something differently.
That's a great answer. Just made
Yeah,
of that. Constant reminder.
Easier said than done sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like back to that earlier point, we're women, we're doers, we get on with it, we just suck it up, you know, but just come back to your values. If it's not sitting right with you and you can actually influence and change it, you need to look after yourself and get yourself out of that situation.
What advice would you give your 25-year-old self?
Oh, I'm really bad at looking backwards. I'm such a looking forward person. I really struggle with that. I can answer that through the lens of what advice would I give my 21-year-old daughter. So it's almost
Well, perhaps that's
but it is
one to answer.
And I do feel I turn into mum advice, which is not wanted or welcomed. But it is that if it worked for me, it would have worked for my 25-year-old self and my younger daughter. So it's that kind of love what you do, just give everything into it. I mean, I really do believe, I mean, there should be no limit in your ambitions and your energy, and throw yourself all in, but be aware of what's right and wrong, right? And just have that inner barometer in you and align yourself with like-minded people. You're going to get so much energy and passion and love for what you do from that. And probably, yeah, when you're younger, you don't really have that confidence maybe to protect yourself quite as much as you should. So know that. Zero tolerance of any nonsense. Stand up for yourself and, you know, kind of let that be a kind of slight protection around you, that, you know, no, you're giving so much, like just value yourself and expect it back. I mean, I suppose that's it really.
And do you think the workplace has changed from when you started?
It probably hasn't. So
I mean, apart from the tech, of
apart
course,
from the tech and obviously, you know, the whole COVID thing, the remote, and then
hybrid working.
we're all back in, you know, now back to normal. But I guess it has. I mean, as in, it is like back in the day, back in our agency life, you know, I mean, that's why we're all flipping married to our partners that we met in agencies, because, you know, that's all you did. We worked all the hours and then we spent the rest of the time in the agency bar. And
Well, I just remember the drinks trolley coming round at 4 o'clock
exactly,
on a Friday. People would start smoking in the office from about 4 o'clock, maybe
exactly.
five
I
o'clock.
know.
The
So,
I
yeah,
mean,
all of
those
those.
memories, those crazy days.
But I don't look back on that as a toxic situation,
Uh,
because we all wanted to do it. So
mm,
nobody was, we had great leadership. I mean, amazing. I'm so pleased I'm still, you know, in touch with our boss who was there at the time. But you worked really hard, but you were loving what you were doing, right? You were in the prime of your life in the center of London, working with like-minded people. So hopefully it hasn't changed from the point of view that you still want to be like that. Okay, we've got a bit more control now with tech, balance. It's more acceptable to not have to lie and say the tumble dryer is being fixed. You can genuinely work from home if you want to. You know, we don't have to do all that
that's
nonsense anymore.
very true.
You know, when before you would make up some excuse. But apart from that, we're still all about good work, client service in agency world,
Yeah.
work with like-minded people, having fun doing it,
Mm,
just more flexibility, right, on how you do the
yeah.
hours.
Yeah. And why do you think we need more well-balanced workplaces with female leaders?
Well, so we need equality, and we hope I mean, we should already have equality, but unfortunately we still don't. So, you know, you need that from a quality point of view. You should have just as many females as you have males in any position, be it leadership or any level in your career. And it's getting better, right? I mean, there's a lot more spotlight on it, and it is definitely getting better. But I suppose your question slightly leads me into is it loaded that females are better leaders? You know, I mean, that's an assumption, right? So yes, maybe naturally more
Mm,
empathetic, but that's doing men a disservice, because I've had in my career amazing women as my managers, equally incredible men that
mm,
I'm still in touch with. So I've equally had bad flavors of
yeah.
both sexes, but you
Yeah.
know, when you get a good connection, it actually shouldn't matter what or who they are. Um, so equality, I suppose. We just need to. It just needs not to be a thing anymore in our
Yeah.
society. I mean,
And how do you encourage, particularly now in your role as a founder of an agency, how do you encourage the kind of the young sort of leaders coming into the agency, or you can see straight away they're young, they're ambitious, they're ready to be nurtured. How do you motivate them and encourage them?
yeah. I mean, safe space, first of all, again, should be a given, but it's one of our values that actually, if you just have honesty and transparency in a safe place where you're all on the same level,
Mm,
it allows people to actually bring their best self, which obviously that's what we all want. But it allows you then, especially in our situation, to share your growth ambitions, to almost motivate you as the co-founder to think bigger and be more ambitious, because you see the energy that they're bringing. And then you have this responsibility, right, to create these careers that are worthy of their talents. I mean,
yeah,
that's how I think about it. It's like, and it's a kind of caretaker role that we should be so lucky to have these people even in our orbit for a year or two. You know, I never take it for granted that the privilege of somebody wanting, I mean, especially as a startup, I suppose, almost taking a chance in inverted commas of working with you, but just the fact they're giving their time and energy to you, you've got a responsibility back to create
yeah,
an environment where they're going to thrive, but watch them thrive and go. I mean, as much as you wouldn't want to lose anyone, you know, that is the ultimate, right? They're going to move on up in their careers. And then you stay in touch as a mentor, as a friend, as a
yeah.
silent supporter, or whatever we said earlier, you know, and just cheer them on. Um,
And last question,
oh,
what what does the future look like for you? What do you still want to achieve? Do you have a 10-year roadmap, 20-year roadmap? Yeah, I want to do this, 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 and this, or are you very much looking at it kind of on a year by year basis or week to week basis?
no, I mean, Ed and I, he's my co-founder at Loop. So we've definitely in our 2-year history now gone from a cycle of, ooh, can we do it? Semi-survival to let's have a go mindset to, okay, we're growing a team. We seem to be doing good work, generally attracting great clients and, you know, getting a lot of feedback back from them. So it's like social proof almost, right? Isn't it? That it breeds your ambition because you're thinking, oh, hang on a minute, that wasn't just a fluke. It wasn't just somebody from a network was kind to us and gave us a little project. You know, actually, maybe we are good at this. Maybe we do know what we're doing. Maybe we are doing something right. So I think it suddenly starts allowing you to puff up and you think bigger. And I mean, genuinely now, if it all ended tomorrow, I am the happiest I've ever been, right? So this is it. This is just perfect. Equally, I can dream hugely big and let's just see where it goes. So there's no limit on my ambitions. I'm not doing it from an ego way or any other motivation of just like, let's put our arm around everybody and let's see where the hell we can all go. I mean, that's the ethos really. So be that 2 years, 5-year, 10-year plan, you know, let's just throw ourselves out there in the universe, right? And just like go for it. I mean, it's really, really the plan with some business strategy and numbers behind it, obviously not quite as flaky as that sounded, but yes. But it's mindset. You gotta believe it, right? And just kind of every day wake up and give it your best shot. So
and sorry, I lied and I said last question. I've got one sneaky last question, and I promise this will be the last. So you've got two daughters. And what advice would you give to them, particularly if they want to get into the industry? Would you encourage them, or would you want them to do something completely different?
yeah, I mean, you'd have to ask them, I guess. But I think I am, well, the most controlling, but the most laid back mum, as in that, you know, internally, I'm always a planner and trying to map everything out. But you soon realize, right, your kids are not your kids. You've just brought them in. They are individuals in their own right. So I've always hopefully just created an environment of can do, no limits, you go girl. I mean, I'm just that sort of yay, you know, whatever they want to do, me and obviously their dad are right behind them, you know. So ironically, they are both falling into the creative marketing industry through their sort of degrees and sort of career choices.
No
But
surprises there.
that's weird, right? I mean, so maybe we just created that environment at home. But I mean, you know, I'm equally cool. Like I mean, I actually kind of almost actively encourage my daughter not to go to university. I'm like, just start a business. You know what I mean? Don't do the debt, just do it. But it was right for her to go to uni and she's loving it. But, you know, there's no right or wrong. There's no traditional, just like, God, just enjoy what you do and have fun, but just like work really hard as well. And then you're going to get a lot back.
And I mean, there's so many options now other than university,
Exactly. Yeah.
college. They're you know, they're
Do
really
anything really, can't you? I mean, you know, they've got a lot of barriers, the younger generation, but they've got a lot more freedom of choice maybe than we had, you know. I mean, with all of the technology and all of the new careers that tech is providing them, you know, it is really just go for it and just do whatever you want to do and just enjoy it. Yeah.
just that the cost, obviously, back in our day, you didn't have to pay for
Exactly. And
higher
it's
education, so it's now so ridiculously expensive.
it is. There is that. There is that. But then money comes back, right? As you work, it's another tax. You also kind of, you know, all those life experiences, and you will pay it back through a career. And don't let almost, if you can afford it or, you know, facilitate it with student loans and things like that, just if that's the right thing for you to do, that, you know, hopefully shouldn't be a barrier to anyone getting that access to education. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much
Oh,
for
this has been
agreeing
such
today.
fun. Let's keep going. I could talk all
Really
day.
hazy, but no, that's been fascinating. We could go on for hours. I'd
We
love
could.
to go back and discuss
Oh,
the last 20 years and
God, we could, couldn't
yeah,
we?
to catch up. But thank you very, very much. And happy International Women's Day.
And to you, and well done on your amazing business as well that you are growing. I
Oh, well,
genuinely have
thank you.
been
Well,
watching you
likewise.
from afar, and you've been a good fuel and inspiration that you can do
Oh,
it. So
thank
well
you very
done
much, Vicky. And congratulations. I think you're coming up to your 2-year business
to you.
anniversary of Loop
We are.
Agency.
Where does the time go? I know, right? But all right, my love, we will keep in touch. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye-bye.